Barefoot Bruises, rocking the Derek Steele Degman, and also backup, I guess you'd call backup, is my Dalibor. All right, so I didn't mention it last week, but like as soon as I got off the video, or as soon as the video was over last week, I thought about it and I had to call Steve. And if you've watched Steve's channel, which I'm sure most of you that watch me probably watch him, it's like a 40-day challenge. We do it every year. I think Steve started it for sure, and I think at this point, like it's just a mutual challenge, I guess. And it's really not any like what do I want to say? For him, it's for Lent. For me, I'm not religious in that sense, so it's just a challenge. But it's a 40-day challenge. You can call it Lent challenge, however you want to call it. It is no buying or trading, and it's always difficult. Every year is difficult. But I remember the very first one. It's funny how far we've come. I think this is the 4th or 5th year. I don't remember. He said 4. Maybe it was 4 years ago. 5 or 4 or 5. Either way, it's been 4, at least 4, I would think. And 4 years ago, or the very first time I tried this, me and Aaron were good buddies. I'm pretty sure it was 4 years ago. And I told him, I was like, man, there's only really 1 or 2 things that I would break the challenge for. And I told him a couple of them, and he went and found them. So he helped me break my challenge the first couple of years. I was just thinking about that because one of them was a ZT. So like a ZT 0456 and Blackwash. And I've had like 4 or 5 of those ZTs. I used to be a huge ZT collector, and like I still, when I see them and I handle them, I still like them. They're just not, they're not what I do now, right? But that's neither here nor there. And I think we all have those cycles we go through, whether it's, going through a whole brand or a whole style of knives, and then you kind of just move on from there. I don't know, like for whatever reason, like that's why I think I've, probably, I don't know, a decade and a half into collecting here, or maybe more. I keep going back, and my go back to is the frame lock bruisers. Like everything else seems to go by the wayside. So like, I know what I like. I guess, I'm not saying I'm not going to ever change, but chances are at this point it's pretty much locked in. It's the same as like, I don't know, like cars are kind of the same way, and motorcycles are kind of the same way. You evolve, new stuff comes out, you experience it, you either dislike it or like it, and kind of add, and it kind of grows, kind of thing for you. Like I was a super big Chevy guy when I was young. Like I wouldn't even think about buying a Ford, and now I wouldn't think about buying a Chevy. I'd rather have a Ford. But that's just, like taste changed a little bit. But like I've experienced import motorcycles, other American made motorcycles, but I always come back to Harleys. So like it's something about that particular brand that always sucks me back into it. So I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I'm kind of going too many analogies. Back on track, because I already sideways on this one. What I was trying to get at is the no buying and no trading thing is basically a break in the cycle for me, because like I definitely have a lot, especially in the past. Like since I've stopped the officially working for other people, I don't see as many different things coming in. Like that was pretty much every week 3 or 4, 5, 6, whatever the hell knives a week would hit me, and I'd be like, oh, I've never seen that before, and do something for them or whatever. Like like in the background right now when I'm talking, I'm probably gonna put like a quick disassembly and show you that Reese Wheeling that I showed last week, or week before, whatever it was. Was it last week? I can't even remember now. All the weeks blend together for me. Anywho, I'm gonna show, I might show and edit if I feel like editing that I did a little oblong cutout for it, and to me, I like that knife way better after that cutout. Hadn't even heard any feedback from Tomas yet, other than he got it. But like, maybe, some people will share that information, some people won't. I didn't really pry for it, but like, I personally like the mod pretty good. Whether you would mod a multiple $1,000 custom, up to you. Obviously I do it to most of mine. I'm gonna show you here in a minute a few. Let me set these down because there's no reason I have these. I should put them in a pocket, but I'll get them in a minute. Back to what I was saying again, I get sidetracked so easily. Breaking the cycle for me, so it's twofold, right? Like I don't need to spend the money. I need to spend the money. I need to get some equipment and tooling and materials. So it helps me kind of stop the cycle of acquiring new knives or trading for new knives. Oftentimes, and I reflect on this usually after the fact, and usually months after the fact, a lot of the trades I do are like I do both ways. So like sometimes the trade will be in my favor, and I know in the back of my mind, like Carco and I've done this quite a few times. In the back of my mind, I'm kind of like, next time I got to make sure he's hooked up, he got what he wants, and I might take the lesser of the, you know. Sometimes trade ain't 100% even, but if you trade enough with people over time, that evens out. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And there's certain people that I really just don't want to trade with again. Like, you know, always push you for the last dollar and that sort of thing. And those people, you know, like generally speaking, they'll learn sooner or later, or nobody will trade with them. But at this point, like I'm not into production knives. I'm into custom knives. Most people that are into custom knives know what they're getting when they get it, and they buy it for a reason. They're not buying it to try it. Like a lot of production knives, you buy to try. Custom knives, I mean, to a certain degree, you are trying them because every knife is going to be different. But like, you pretty much know what you're getting into, or have an idea what you're getting into before you get them. Where am I going with this? I don't even know. Man, I'm getting so sidetracked. I think I've done this 3 or 4 times. But I need materials to build more stuff. I have some sitting on the shelf, but I'm actually taking, and the first couple of these will be from friends, and I'm not going to open it up to the public. There's something that you're like, know that I might be interested in, maybe, but I'm definitely not doing any more styles of knives that I'm really don't want to do. Having said that, this first knife is a little bit smaller than I would have done, but you know, at the same time, I did another one of Direware's Reblades, and so Evan has this. I think it's called the S Mini. I thought it was S90 at first, but it's the S Mini. It's a little guy. It's a little guy. But if you look at the blade compared to most Direwares, it's kind of plainy, right? It's not the normal Direware flare, if you will. And the other Direware I did come out pretty good. So this is gonna be the first Reblade. This is obviously for Evan. If I hadn't already mentioned it. There's a couple things that are going to limit what I can do in this one. Obviously, I have to have the exposed stop pin, so this stop pin has to be in that position no matter what, right? On the closed side, you see the stop pin way up here where the flipper kind of coils around. So I can't put the flipper in front of it unless I come up and around, and if I do that, it comes here, it's going to look goofy down here. So the flipper, as far as this inside groove here, which will be the same as the front side here, has to pretty much remain in that position. Let's see if I can try to show you where the stop pin lands on that. And if I go down to this open position, you see where that, hopefully you can see it, where that little white mark is. So that's actually a little bit below the frame, which kind of limits it to either I'm gonna have to reproduce a flipper of this sort of design, because my initial thoughts was doing a finger choil, you know, because you got this much unused blade anyhow. Or I can extend the blade down and just leave like a little nubbin right there. So it'll just come down and have like a little nubbin to go up high enough to catch that stop pin in the closed position. So hopefully you guys can see that. I need to leave enough material for that stop pin on the closed position. So it's going to have to protrude above or below, however you want to look at it, the frame. So it's going to limit what I can do. So the debate now, because it's a small knife, and for me, it's like, you can see it barely fit 3 in here for me. So there's no way I'm going to get more than 3 on it unless I do the forward finger choil, in which case, you know, it's still not, because the way that's grooved, it's still not going to be, you know, see how I'm overlapping my fingers? It's still not going to be a 4-finger knife for me. So I'm debating to either do a finger choil or to bring the blade back more and just leave it like a little nubbin right there. But the other thing about this one, and the reason I'm kind of more excited about it is, let me see it from the closed position and it'll make more sense. Let's get, do I have anything else small? I don't have anything else small, but let's just use, I'm just going to use this sleeper for example. So you can see it fills the gap. You can see a gap here and here, if that makes sense, between the blade and the titanium. And it fills it real well. And if you look at this one, this little guy, there we go. It's hard. There you go. You can see it better. You see a much bigger gap between the blade and the frame, so we can beef this thing up a pretty good bit. I haven't even measured it to see what the thickness is, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be somewhere around that 200 thousandths blade. What I may have to do is cut a new backspacer, or I might have to space this out. You know, sometimes people call it floating backspacers, where you can see the little gap. I don't think this particular one is going to work for what I want to do, because the other thing I want to do is, you can see how much shorter the blade is. You know, you could come out probably, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch at least, quarter inch further. Hopefully you can see the end of the blade there. Longer if you have a backspacer that will accommodate. So kind of thinking initially, I was thinking I might reuse that backspacer, but I'm thinking if I'm going to do a different blade thickness, go and beef this thing up, I might just make a whole new backspacer for this one. So this is going to turn into a little more than just a Reblade, but you know, they all kind of do. And then in which case, I'll probably end up using my own hardware instead of reusing that hardware. It may be long enough. I have to take it apart and measure to see if I got enough length in this way to accommodate a thicker blade. I'm same with the pivot. Probably I'll probably have to do something different with the pivot, but we'll see. You know, if it's 50 thou, maybe it won't make a difference. You know, if it's 75 thou, it's probably pushing it. But we're gonna try to thicken this guy up a little bit. Do the first, if you will, customer Reblade. I got another one on the way too that I'm kind of excited about, but that's not here yet. So we're moving in, I guess, doing more Reblades. I really wanted to jump on, and I probably still will start that design for Eon's Edge. You know, I think that's going to be just an ease into thing. Because I haven't talked to him since he was supposed to come by last week. Wasn't able to make it, and I hadn't talked to him about if there's any design, changes he wants to make before I get started. So I'll probably broad stroke it. I might do that today, broad stroke it today, and I might work on Evan's knife. I'm not sure. The Reblades are a little bit easier because it's half the formulas or more than half the formulas already figured out. You're basically just copying in and adding to or putting your touch on what's already there versus creating the whole thing from scratch, which I still struggle with from a design point of view, because once the knife gets to a certain point, I can kind of see where I want to go from there. But when it's just raw materials to make it and it's a one-off custom, it's a little harder for me to visualize. I know some people, like a lot of people, draw before they make. That's not my style. Like I'm just not into that. I like to make shit, and then as I go, it kind of sort of refine it to what I want, I guess. I don't really set a plan out. I guess we all are different that way, but like I've done the same thing when I used to build motorcycles, the same kind of thing. Like I would just, all right, I know I want it this and start on that step, and then I know I want this and go to that step. And then, after you get going to a certain point, the bike starts forming itself, and you can, okay, let's do this, let's change this. Like it's just how I always kind of operated, I guess. While we're talking about gaps to be filled, so I told you no more trades. This one came in. This was from Steve. This is it was all flamed. I put a picture on Instagram, and I even said something about you'll never see it flamed again. And you won't, because it's blasted like I do all my shit. I know, shades of gray, I know. But same kind of thing here. It's just a little bit on the thinner side. Like for me, the blade itself, it's not bad, but this is the Rogovitz FMJ, which is kind of like his take on a Strider-esque, which I don't really, he said that, but I'm looking at it and I don't see any Strider at all. Me personally, like I don't know, I guess you could if you were really looking hard, maybe find some resemblance, but to me, like the oblong and the blade's about the only thing I see with Strider resemblance. And there's some things about this one, it's good as it is, don't get me wrong, it's a great knife, but there's things about this one. He's got that stupid little snake bite pivot that I can't stand. Like I like the flatness, how it's flat on the outside, but I like regular old Torx. Like Medford does the same thing. I just never been a fan of that. Like Universal Hardware, everybody pretty much from the knife industry uses Torx, and then you got people that do different stuff. Even Strider with the Allen wrenches and the screwdriver thing. I just like Torx, man. Like you can do it all with Torx. It's just a matter of finding the right person to do it or making it yourself. So for me personally, like I like the fact that he makes his own pivots, but I will not, if I do reblade on this one, which I probably will do eventually, I will use a different pivot, which allows me to do the size hole that I want with the pivot that matches. It's not going to really affect it. It might be like, half a thou looser fit on the titanium or something, but it's not really going to affect what I do with my knives. Because he does run a little bit oversized pivot compared to like the hardware you get from like Tie Connector or Alpha Knife Supply. They're all a little bit different. But I've showed the FMJ before. Steve showed the FMJ before. Nothing big other than it's got the brass backspacer, which really sticks out at this point. So will that get reused? I'm leaning towards probably not. And then I know you guys know that I hate these freaking hole cutouts. I've got a couple knives with the hole cutouts now, and it's either live with it or fill it in. And like, I don't know, like to fill it in with what? And then when it gets done, what's that gonna look like? So I don't know. I'll probably leave the mesh in this one. Just leave it as is. I blasted it so it's all more subdued. It ain't sticking out like it before. It was like all shiny in there. So obviously I just blasted everything. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. No preconceived like blade shapes or changes that I'm gonna make. I just want to get to it. I'll get to it. At this point, I think I'm gonna bust out Evans, and then Billy's sending me something, I believe, that we'll try. We're gonna try that next, I think. But if you watched Apex Alchemy, which he said he wasn't gonna do no more videos, but hey, he popped a video out. He tested the reblades that I'd already done. I'd mentioned before, like he came back with a low heat treat the very first time he tested that blade, and there's two things that kind of stuck out to me. As I did change some of my method, but like the temper cycle was done in the oven inside versus this new one that I got, which may or may not have affected it, like heat range wise. But to be off as far as it was, I didn't think it would be the HRC that he reported it the first time. And I never tested it at the machine shop. I just took his word for it. But I started using a knife, and I was like, I'm not seeing any differences. Like, and to be as low as it was, I like either I don't use my knives like, how should I say it? I don't need as crisp of a knife. I'm not doing chef work, real fine tool stuff. I'm doing like more heathen shit with my knives. So maybe I don't notice the refined aspects of it. But then I was like, man, it just performed like every other S45 knife that I've ever had. So I was like, I just want to send it back to him this time. I really sent it to him to check out. But I asked him to retest it for me. And so he repoked it, and it basically come up with like 59 or 59 and a half. I can't remember exactly what he said. And then which one was it? After that, the Tucson knife, it came up at like 60 and a half or 61. I can't remember, which is pretty much that ballpark. I was shooting 460-ish. And then the other one, which was the Solo, it came up super high. The first time he told me it was like 64. On that video, it's come up 64. I said, man, do me a favor, poke it a few more times and see what comes out. So he did. He poked it a few more times, and I think the average was like 61 or 61 and a half. So all in that range. What I'm saying, like, most people give a 3-point range when you look at a knife 59, 61. That's pretty common, or used to be pretty common. Some people refine it a little more, but like for what I'm doing, I'm totally happy with that. Like a temper oven will probably help me maintain the temper cycle temperature better than this powder coating oven that I'm using currently. But it's just more money to sink in the shop, and like I'd rather have other tools at this point. I know I need to get to there, but like if we're just talking heat treat, like I need to invest in like a doer to do the cryo for liquid nitrogen and that sort of thing. Some of these steels we're moving into just benefit more from it. S45 would too. I could temper it. I could austenitize at a higher temperature and do a cryo and have less retained austenite. If I did cryo, which I know half of you already are lost in that explanation, but like as I'm going, I'm learning, and I realize I can refine this by adding another step. That's what the takeaway is. Okay. It'll all that stuff will kind of refine itself over time, I think, but I'm getting in the price, or not the price, I'm getting in the hardest range that I wanted to hit, and which is a good thing. So like I'm consistent with myself, which was the very first thing I wanted to do. I'm not half a point. Who did I see do? Somebody I saw said, they hold heat treat to a half a point every time. They're more refined than I am. Like I'm holding it to basically plus or minus 1.5. Like that's not the best, but like, for what I'm doing right now, I'm happy with that. It'll come over time. I've only done like 5 or 6 heat treat cycles at this point, so like I don't have a ton of experience. It's all like a learning curve. What else? Oh, so I guess what am I gonna say here? I'm done with the modding for the general public. But like I was saying the other day when Tomas sent that wheeling in, like if someone sends something in and wants something done, that's fine. I can do that stuff. I'm just not going to open it up for the general public. So the guys that want the regrinds, especially like the import knife regrinds and that sort of thing, I'm just not interested in doing it anymore. So 100% done with all that. Mods I might do a little bit, but once again, like you got other people in the community that do it, and I want to really push Paul because he's progressing with the tools he has, which is very minimal, and he's doing great work with the minimal amount of tools. So like just someone else to ask about these sort of things. He asks me a question sometimes about how to accomplish something. I can usually give him my advice, and it's like it's passing the knowledge down a little bit, to help. So people that inquire, and I get inquiries kind of sort of often. I'm just referring them all to Paul at this point. Like, hopefully they go see him. Hopefully get some traction and he gets more tools and becomes better and better, and maybe he'll pass it down to the next guy eventually. But passing the torch, if you will, I guess, for the mod work. But I did get a ton of end mills because I've been through them. I've been going through like that mod I did for Tomas. That was probably 3 tools. It was 2 5/16 drills and a 5/16 end mill, which I don't really stock 5/16 end mills. It just happened to be one I had. But yeah, done. I mean, that blade was super thick. I never even measured it, but it was super thick, and to drill through that hardened steel and then end mill through the hardened steel, you have to real shallow length the cuts and go super slow, and so it just takes forever. So it's probably actually most of Sunday was just doing that mod. What else we got to talk about? Oh, I did some other mods. So we're talking about doing hardened steel. I showed you I'd done this one in the past, and yeah, Evan, I'm sorry, I'm gonna send this one back to you, but I figured I'd do this all at one whack. So I did this one a while back. This is the buoy. I know I showed you, but I really like the way that thumb hole worked on this one. It worked really well. This is probably now, as far as like the DSKs that I have, like one of the more fidgety ones. I reprofiled the blade slightly, and I think I just got my thumb. I did. But this one really was I was really satisfied with this one. So when I got to the sleeper, this is the one that had that shoulder bolt in it before, which I don't really like his studs for a shoulder bolt. I tried to do the same kind of mod. So it looks a little different because of the placement of where it is. But from the thumb point of view, when I get to do it, it's almost exactly the same, because you're going up at a different angle, I guess. Sorry about that. I'm going up at a different angle, so let me flip around so you guys can see it. Going up at a different angle, so how it laid out, this layout here was slightly different than the other one because I had to kind of line it up with the finger groove. But that thumb worked so much better, and then obviously I did the same kind of thing on the backside with the bull. Hopefully you can see that little bull groove in the backside, and then I just re-acid stonewashed it again. So super happy with the way that one came out, and this is way more fidgety of a knife. So I'll probably send both of those for Evan to check out. And the sleeper I did it was just flipper only, but I went ahead and cut that bull groove in it too. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if you can see that good enough, but I didn't do any finishing on it at all. I just literally cut it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to acid stonewash it, because my initial plan was to blast and stonewash this one, but I kind of, my shades of gray, if you will, I kind of like a little I guess what do you call this, sandpaper satin. I kind of like a little sandpaper satin every now and then. As far as the flats go, hopefully you can see it with greasy ass fingerprints all over it. But yeah, I like that. I like that every now and then. I'm not. I'm generally speaking, I like the darker and the blasted blades, but you got to have a little variety, right? All my shit is pretty much blasted. I know everybody's like, yeah, you got no variety. I know, it's just my style. Once again, like, it's been refined over a decade and a half, so like I know what I like. I know what I consistently go to. I don't ever look at that and go, damn, I wish I wouldn't have blasted that. That has never happened, not one time. This one is one that Evans let me see, and I think I saw this knife first with Killer Knives Kevin. It's a zip flip. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this went to Carco at some point, and he refinished the blade, and now it's Evans. And you can see it's a way more refined, really smaller, much smaller bevel, final bevel on this one. Which I don't know if I was just guessing. I'm all guess Kyle did the edge on this one, but what an interesting knife. Like, I've never seen something from Dan that's this skinny and this long. Let's break the sleeper back out. So you can see it's about the same length as the sleeper, but man, look how much thinner it is. Like, not this way, because it's still a DSK, so it's still got the thickness. But look at the skinniness that way. I don't know if I can get everything in camera. So it's just a super low profile this way. So to me, this is a great, like, a little secondary kind of thing for me. Like, that's how I'd use that and roll. But also, the first thing I noticed too is, like, I didn't realize it was a front flipper. So I can't. There it goes. I gotta use a little wrist on this one to front flip, but definitely an interesting little guy. I don't know that, like, not every DSK, not every maker's knives are for you, right? Like, so for me, this one's probably not one I need to add to the collection. It's not gonna be on the list of the ones that I'm trying to collect. And as I was alluding to, I even talked to Steve about this earlier, or last week. It's like, I used to be the ZT collector. I wanted them all. I got them all the ones that I really wanted. And then I was like, now what? And I kind of just lost interest and sold them. So I'm hoping I don't get that way with the DSKs. I don't think I will. But there's 2 or 3 still that I want. I still need a GF1, and I still need that. What is the other one that I need? What's that one called? I had one. Oh, I can't even think of the name of it now. Anyhow, there's 2 at least that I know that I need. Other than that, something else might pop up that I need. But GF1's definitely on that list. So I'll get one eventually, but it ain't going to be for at least 40 days. And, to go back to what I started like 20 minutes ago, because my mind's bouncing all over the place as I'm talking here. Day 1 of this 40-day challenge, Brother Carco hits me up. Brother 5-Door hits me up. So it's really hard, because he hit a DSK. He was willing to, he wanted to either sell or trade kind of thing. And man, that was hard. But yeah, I had to pass it up because like I'm trying to stay true to it. And like even Doug was like, "Hey man, I can wait 40 days." I'm like, man, it don't make sense for me to do a 40-day challenge and day 41 already get the deal worked out from day 1. So like I just basically delayed 41 days to make the deal. Now we'll be true to the challenge and try to keep my word and try to do it the right way this time. So my goal, I think, is Blade Show Texas was just yesterday and the day before. And it looked awesome. So I think next year I might try Blade Show Texas. It's a good time of year, so it's still fairly cool. I could ride over there. I could probably even camp or get a hotel or whatever. But this is a good time of year for I'm at Tucson, so to ride from here to Dallas, the weather's not going to be, it may be a little bit cooler in Dallas, but like it ain't going to be horrible. Like when I rode the Blade Show Atlanta, it's like hundreds pretty much the whole way across. So you're talking about 3 days of riding in 100-degree temperatures, and like you get there and you're just wore out from being in 100-degree temperatures. But it does make the show feel cooler, so I can give you that. But I think, starting this 40-day cycle now, so they'll put us like almost at the end of April, and then basically I'm just got to get another 6 weeks or so, and then it's Blade Show. So I'm hoping, like mentally, to go all the way to Blade Show without, purchasing now. Now, I don't know, I'm going to take this one step back, because I did, there's some caveats, and Steve mentioned it in his video, but the caveats are, if I've already ordered the knife, obviously if it comes in, or like my heater's going to probably be up in this 40-day challenge thing. I'm obviously completing that deal because that's already pre-ordered, right? I have, I'm on the books for MOW and a BOW, his fixed blade. His fixed blade, I don't know how fast he's going to push that. So it may come in that 40 days. It may not. I'm pretty sure the MOW will hit in that 40 days or around that time frame. Totori knives, I got a fixed blade from. AG American, I got a fixed blade coming from. I don't think I got anything else on order. So I'm putting it out there right now. I got 4, I think, if I'm remembering right. Like 4. Obviously, there's other stuff probably floating around that I can't remember. I know that Medford Black Card thing, if it hits, which I don't think it will, but if it happened to hit in that time period, I don't think we're going to see that knife for probably another year, but maybe 2. But we'll see. Like I'm kind of sort of putting it all on the open, so y'all can call me out if you see something new. Like, hey, did you? No, I didn't. Okay, so like that, we'll leave it like that. But it doesn't mean I can't sell knives. It just means I can't buy or trade for knives. So I may, not this week, because I know Steve's still pushing his sale. And honestly, it's a shit time to sell right now. And, I think once tax season rolls into more people having money in a couple months, like maybe that'll change. Usually before Blade Show, the whole market opens up because people start selling nice, usually on the cheap, so they can get money to go to Blade Show, which I'm no exception. I pretty much do it every year, even though I say I'm not gonna. I pretty much end up either buying something ahead of time because it's super cheap, or I end up selling to have more money to go to Blade. So we'll see how it goes. Oh yeah, I promised that I was going to show you this other Rogovitz. So now they're kind of sort of matched. It's the blasted frame too. I know I had the American flag thing on it before, but I didn't show it, I don't think. This one has the copper backspacer. It's very well executed. This one is a floating spacer. I don't know if you can see the low washers on the other side of that or not. I'm not super fond of the copper by itself like that. Obviously, I put studs on it too. I don't know if I even mentioned that. It used to have a piece of, I want to say it was brass, but maybe it was copper that was in there too. But I drilled it out, added some thumb studs to it. Does it actually do much? Honestly, the way that thumb stud placement is, like you can do the thumb easy enough, But for like a finger flick or whatever, you're so high up already, you can make it work, but it's not like where you normally put your thumb. So yeah, it's there. It's there if I want to do it. So it's not just a flipper only anymore. But it's really not like where you'd want it, like down here. And I could flip off the blade, I guess. So I guess this one I'm calling done. But the same thing with the other one. So they're kind of sort of matchy-match other than they're different material back spacers. But the copper blends more than the brass does. The brass is like bam in your face. So I got to do something to refine both of those. You know, those type of mods will take place when there's nothing else really going on that I want to do. So I wouldn't look for that anytime soon for me. Plus, I probably need a little bit thicker stock material. So, you know, once I get something around here, I probably will. And we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. Like, but you know, sorry, I had a text come up. I was trying to read it sideways. And but let's see, 31 minutes of me just sitting here running my mouth. If you went to Blade Show, Texas, I'm really looking forward to hearing your experiences there, especially Brother Ken. And I talked to him once. He showed me a couple pictures, and hopefully he'll do a video and let us know how Texas was. I'm kind of pumped on trying Texas next year. So I might forgo Atlanta for Texas next year. Maybe. I think it's more doable as far as like the, getting there back and forth. But I like to hear some experiences. So if y'all went, let me know. Other than that, 32 minutes of me rambling to a camera or a phone, I guess. Hope y'all enjoy this stupidity. All right. Y'all be cool. See you next week if you're bored.